When I called my son, Max, to ask when the wedding would be, my daughter-in-law, Lena, met my eyes and said with a cool smile, "Oh, we got married yesterday. We only invited special people." Those words slammed into me like ice water. Special people. For 3 years, I had covered their rent, $500 every month, bought the furniture they used, and stocked their fridge when there was nothing in it. And yet, I wasn't special. I stood in the living room of my own home, phone heavy in my hand, like it weighed 1,000 pounds, while Max stared at the floor and Lena settled onto the sofa I had purchased for them. In my closet hung the pale pink dress I'd chosen for the ceremony, useless now, along with new shoes and the belief that I would be part of the most important day of my only child's life. I had spent $200 on that dress, picturing myself in Max's wedding photos I would never be in. For weeks I had prepared. I'd set aside $1,000 for their wedding gift. I phoned my sister Diana in Chicago to share the happy news. I scrubbed the house top to bottom, imagining they might stop by afterward to celebrate. All of it collapsed in a moment under those 4 poisoned words. "Only special people." Max finally looked up and, in a voice that sounded rehearsed, said, "Mom, it was intimate, very small, just us and the witnesses." But I knew that wasn't true. I saw the pictures online. Lena's parents smiling beside the bride and groom, her siblings toasting with champagne, and Lena in a white gown, partly paid for by the $800 I'd given her last month for personal expenses. I saw everything I wasn't meant to see. 1 week later, exactly 7 days after the humiliation, Lena called with a very different tone. Gone was the confidence. In its place, panic. "Renata, the rent is overdue. The landlord says if we don't pay this week, he'll evict us. You forgot to make the transfer." I let the silence sit. I remembered every rushed trip to the bank, every plan I'd canceled to make sure they had a roof, every simple meal of beans and rice so I could fund their comforts. And after cutting me out of their wedding, they called as if nothing had happened. "Lena," I said, calmer than I felt, "didn't I tell you I only help special people now?" The line went so quiet I could hear my heartbeat. For the first time in years, she was the one unsteady. "Renata, I don't understand," she stammered. "We were always special to you. You're like a second mom to me." Lies, sweetly wrapped and saved for when money was needed. The same voice she used for the dress, the honeymoon, the rings, things I helped fund without ever seeing the ceremony where those rings were exchanged. For years I walked on eggshells, measuring every word, every gift, hoping for a crumb of affection from my own son. I played the perfect mother, the agreeable mother-in-law, the silent provider who never made a scene while I was treated like I didn't exist. But only special people shook something awake in me. I did the math in my head, what I'd poured into them in 3 years. Rent, food, gifts, emergencies, whims. It was over $20,000. Money taken from my retirement, from savings, from what my late husband left so I could live my final decades in peace. And what did it buy? To be treated like a stranger on my own son's wedding day. That night, after I hung up, I sat on my bed and cried, but not out of sorrow. I cried from anger, from years of swallowed humiliation. I cried for every time my love felt like an inconvenience, my presence like a bother, my money like the only thing that mattered. I cried for the foolish mother who made herself indispensable to people who found me disposable. The next morning, I woke different. It wasn't just hurt, it was resolve. I faced the mirror, the same tired eyes, the same wrinkles earned by decades of giving without return. But there was something new, a steadiness I hadn't allowed myself in years. I made coffee, like I had for 40 years, but I didn't think about calling Max or about a message that might soften yesterday's cruelty. For the first time in a long time, I put myself first. I sat at the table where I'd planned surprises, counted out their bills, and cried quietly when they were cold to me. Today, that table would witness something else. I pulled out my checkbook and statements and wrote it down, line by line. Rent. $500 multiplied 36 months equal $18,000. Food and supplies. About $200 a month equals $7,200. Birthday, Christmas, anniversary gifts. At least $3,000. Lena's medical emergencies. $800. The car loan they never repaid. $2,500. A/C repair at their place. $600. Living room furniture. $1,200. $33,400. That was the total. $33,400 from my husband's inheritance, my pension, the savings I built penny by penny, thrown at two able-bodied adults who couldn't be bothered to show me basic respect. The phone lit up with Max. In the past, I would have snatched it up, praying for an apology. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. It stopped. I sipped my coffee. 10 minutes later, it rang again. Lena. I let that one go, too. A text from Max. Mom, please answer. We need to talk. I deleted it. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I went for a walk. No errands for them. No bank or grocery runs. No pharmacy pickups. Just a walk for me. I passed the park where I'd taken Max as a child. This sweet little boy who hugged me and called me the best mom in the world. When did that boy grow into a man who treated me like an ATM with feelings? When did I start confusing love with money? At the bank, I paused at the door. The branch manager, Mr. Klein, waved. He had processed every transfer, watched my account drain each month to fill theirs. I went straight to his office. Klein, I need to cancel the automatic transfers. He looked startled. For 3 years, those payments were as regular as sunrise. Are you sure, Mrs. Richter? Did something happen? Real concern, more than my son had shown me in months. What happened is I finally opened my eyes. Cancel everything. And tell me how to safeguard my accounts. I don't want anyone else with access. While he handled the paperwork, my phone buzzed nonstop. Max, then Lena, then Max again. It was as if they had radar for a threatened income stream. I powered my phone off. Mrs. Richter, Mr. Klein said gently, passing me the forms. Forgive me for saying this, but I've seen you give so much for your family. I hope no one is forcing you into this. No pressure, Mr. Klein. For once, I'm the one letting go. I left the bank lighter, as if I'd set down a weight I'd been carrying for years. My money was mine again. No more obligations to people who saw me as a resource, not a person. I thought about everything I hadn't done to keep them comfortable. Trips I never took. Friends I lost touch with. Hobbies I shelved because every dollar for me felt like a dollar stolen from them, $1 less for their needs. Back home, 3 cars sat in my driveway, Max's, Lena's, and another I didn't recognize. I saw shadows moving inside. They had keys I'd given them out of trust. I took a breath and opened the door. I won't forget what I saw. Max on my sofa, head in hands. Lena pacing. An older man sorting through papers on my dining table, my papers. What is going on? I asked, voice steadier than I expected. They all looked at me like I was trespassing. Lena jumped in first, urgent and breathy. Renata, thank God. We need to talk. This is Mr. Fisher, the attorney we consulted about your situation. My situation? I asked evenly. I'm fine. Max finally raised his face. The eyes I used to see on a child now looked like fear of unpaid bills. Mom, the bank said you canceled the transfers. Mr. Klein said you blocked our access. Why would you do that? The man in the gray suit walked over, hand outstretched. Mrs. Richter, I'm Dr. Fisher, a family lawyer. Your children are worried about your mental health and asked me to check in. I didn't take his hand. I gathered my paperwork from the table. These are private. You had no right to read them. Mom, Max said in that patronizing tone he'd perfected. You've been acting strangely. You cut us off with no explanation. You won't answer calls. We think you need professional help. Lena tried to take my hand with practiced softness. Renata, you've been under stress. Maybe loneliness is getting to you. At your age, confusion is normal. There it was. Now I understood why they'd brought a lawyer. This wasn't about help. They wanted to paint me as incompetent and seize control of my finances. The same woman who told me only special people were invited now wanted me to play the senile elder. I'm not confused, I said firmly. I'm clearer than I've been in years. And you're leaving. Now. Mrs. Richter, Mr. Fisher said in that soothing legal tone, your children have a right to step in if your decision-making is impaired. They've documented concerning behaviors. I laughed, harsh and humorless. Like deciding my money is mine? Like choosing not to bankroll 2 adults who treat me like trash? Lena flinched as if I'd slapped her. We never treated you badly. You're family. Everything you have will be ours one day anyway. We're just accelerating things. There it was, plain and ugly. In their minds, I was already gone. They were just cashing in early. Whether I had 70 years left or 70 days, I was an ATM on legs that had become inconvenient. Out, I said, pointing at the door. All three of you. Max stood, wearing that angry, boyish face from childhood. Mom, we can't just leave. We have obligations, the rent, the car payments, the credit card you co-signed. You can't cut us off overnight. Can't? My voice finally rose. Who says I can't? I've paid a rent not in my name, filled a refrigerator in a house where I'm not welcome, funded a lifestyle that clearly has no room for me. Mr. Fisher produced a folder and set it on my table. We prepared papers to ease the transition, a power of attorney so Max and Lena can manage your finances. Temporary, until you're feeling better. I threw it straight into the trash. The only transition happening is yours to the front door. Lena started to cry, but it was frustration, not grief. You can't do this, Renata. We counted on you. We made plans. We took on obligations because we knew we could count on you. Plans built on my money, I said. Not my happiness. Not my company. Just my money. And now that I've decided to invest in my own life, I'm suddenly confused and in need of guardianship? Max stepped closer. I stepped back. He wasn't the child who ran to me after nightmares. He was a 35-year-old man who saw me as an obstacle between him and a cushy life. Mom, we made mistakes, he said, trying for remorse. The wedding was a misunderstanding. Lena was nervous. We can fix it if you'll be reasonable. Reasonable? The word soured in my mouth. Reasonable means paying your bills while you treat me like a stranger. Mr. Fisher packed his briefcase efficiently. MRS. Richter, this isn't over. If you're making irrational decisions due to mental health issues, a judge can assign a guardian. A chill ran through me. This wasn't a family squabble. It was a legal threat. M.R. Fisher, I said, meeting his eyes, make sure you do your homework before you threaten a 71-year-old woman who has managed her finances flawlessly for 40 years, raised her child alone after her husband died, ran a household, worked honorably to retirement, and, until last week, financially supported two fully capable adults. Lena's tears dried. Cold replaced them. This won't stand, Renata. We have rights and lawyers, too. Get as many as you like, I said. With your own money. Mine won't pay for your tantrums. They moved toward the door, the wounded pride of people unaccustomed to the word no. Max paused. Mom, this ends badly for you. You'll be alone, with no one to care for you when you need it. I'm already alone, Max, I said quietly. But now it's by choice, not neglect. The door clicked shut, and I stood in a silence I hadn't heard in years, the sound of freedom. I didn't sleep much that night, not from regret, but from adrenaline. By 6 o'clock, I was dressed and ready. First stop. My attorney, Mr. Weber. I knew him from handling my husband's will. Unlike their lawyer, he protected seniors for a living. MRS. Richter, he said after hearing me out. What they tried is common. Elder financial abuse. It's a crime. And going through your paperwork without permission? Also a violation. His words calmed me because they validated what I felt, and scared me because it was serious. We'll document everything, he continued. Every transfer, gift, and episode of pressure. We'll also update your will to shield your assets. We spent 3 hours going through records. Mr. Weber whistled when he saw the total, $33,400 in 3 years. You could have traveled, lived comfortably. Instead, you funded 2 adults who didn't even invite you to their wedding. I left with a plan. Change all the locks, install a security system with cameras, open a new account at a different bank, and start living the life I had postponed. At the hardware store, Mr. Summer, who knew me from all the things I'd bought to fix Max and Lena's place, asked, "Another emergency for your son?" "Not this time," I said. "This is for me. Best locks you have." His son, Ethan, installed security systems. "Perfect. I need cameras." The full setup. While we arranged installation for the next day, an unknown number flashed on my phone. Lena, calling from someone else's line. "Renata, please don't hang up. Let's talk like adults." "Go ahead," I said. "Look, we know we hurt you with the wedding. It was a mistake. Let us make it up with a special dinner at your house. We'll cook together like before." The manipulation was so obvious it was almost funny. "How much rent do you owe?" I asked. Silence! Then, 2 months, $1,000 total. But I'm not just calling for that. We miss you. Do you miss me or my money? Both, she said, surprisingly honest. Yes, we need help, but we love you too. You're important to us. If I'm important, I asked. Why wasn't I important enough to be at your wedding? When was the last time you called just to ask how I'm doing? Silence again. We both knew the answer. Never. Listen carefully, I said. For 3 years you've treated me like an ATM with feelings. You used me, ignored me, humiliated me, and then delivered the worst insult of all. Now that the money is gone, you've suddenly found your love. Renata, please? There is no please. You made your choice when you decided I wasn't special. Now I'm making mine. I hung up and turned off my phone. It was my day to be free. That afternoon I went to the salon I hadn't visited in over a year. Appointments always canceled for their emergencies. Mress. Richter. My stylist, Cynthia, called. We thought you forgot us. I didn't forget you, I smiled. I forgot that I deserve care too. I got everything: cut, color, manicure, pedicure. For the first time in years, I spent money on myself without guilt. You look beautiful, Cynthia said when she finished. But more than that, you look free. I finally learned to say no, I told her. When I pulled into my driveway later, a car I didn't recognize was waiting. My heart raced. Had they returned with reinforcements? But it was an older woman on my steps. M.R.S. Richter? Yes. I'm Eleanor Brooks. I live next door. We've never properly met. I heard raised voices yesterday and wanted to check if you're okay. A stranger showing more care than my own son. Come in, I said. I'll make coffee, and I'll tell you a story you won't believe. I told her everything. When I finished, her eyes were wet. You did the right thing, she said. I went through the same thing 5 years ago with my daughter. I thought I had to bankroll her adulthood too. When I stopped, it got ugly: threats, guilt, manipulation. But after 6 months, she called and truly apologized. Now we have a real relationship based on love, not money. Do you think Max and Lena will ever understand? I asked. Maybe yes, maybe no, she said. But that's no longer your job. Your job is to live your life. That night I slept better than I had in years. No spinning worries about their rent or groceries or whims. The next morning at 8 o'clock, Ethan and Mr. Summer arrived to change the locks and install the cameras. Unknown numbers kept calling. Lena again, trying new phones. I ignored them. This system will give you peace of mind, Ethan said. You'll see who's at the door from your phone. If anyone forces entry, it alerts the police. The irony wasn't lost on me. Securing my home from my own family. But it hurt less now. It was just smart. I called my sister, Diana. We drifted because every conversation had turned into a report on how much I'd given Max and Lena. Renata, she answered. We haven't spoken in months. I'm good, I said. Better than good. I finally came to my senses. I told her everything: the secret wedding, the lawyer, cutting off funds. She listened, then said what I needed to hear. It was time. Every call, you talked about what you'd paid, as if love could be measured in dollars. What else? I asked. When I saw Max at family gatherings, he never spoke about you with warmth. It was always, Mom helped me with this, or Mom bought me that. Never, I love my mom. You sounded like a service provider. It stung, but in the way a cleaning wound stings, part of healing. And Lena, she added, she talked about you in the future. When Renata isn't here anymore, we'll remodel her house when we inherit. We'll invest. It was like they were waiting for you to die. After I hung up, I sat in the kitchen and let the truth settle. Decades of marriage to a man who genuinely loved me, 35 years raising our son alone, and 3 years funding 2 adults who viewed me as a $100,000 obstacle. The doorbell rang. The new camera showed Eleanor with a mug. I thought you could use company. She smiled. We talked more. My daughter said the exact lines Lena used. Eleanor told me, you're like a second mom. We're special to you. It'll all be ours anyway. They must learn it from the same playbook. I joked. Chapter 1. Make her feel indispensable. Chapter 2. Stage constant emergencies. Chapter 3. If she resists, question her sanity. We laughed, but there was bitterness in it. Did you feel guilty when you stopped helping? I asked. Every day for 3 months, she admitted. Then I saw change. My daughter got a second job. Her husband stopped golfing and found extra work. They learned to live within their means. Most important, they learned I'm a person, not a resource. That afternoon, I went to the cemetery to visit my husband's grave, something I had put off for too long because their emergencies always took priority, or because I told myself the taxi fare was better spent on them. The grounds were quiet. His headstone looked a little neglected. I cleaned it and sat. "Robert," I said softly, "after you died, I poured everything into Max. I wanted to be the best mother to make up for the father he lost. In the process, I forgot myself." The breeze lifted the leaves. I kept talking. "Our son. I don't recognize him. Maybe he was always like this and I refuse to see it. But I'm done funding people who don't value me." When I drove home, 3 cars were there again. Max's, Lena's, and 2 more. They were outside, agitated, pointing at my house. I didn't get out. I called Mr. Weber. "They're here again with others." "Stay in the car," he said. "I'm on my way. I'll call the police." The temporary restraining order came through this morning. Within minutes, Mr. Weber and 2 patrol cars arrived. Officers spoke to Max and Lena. I saw my son gesturing wildly. Lena cried again, but those tears meant nothing to me now. An officer came to my window. "Ma'am, you can get out. They're leaving." From the street, Max shouted, "Mom, this is insane. We're your family. You called the police on your own son?" "Family doesn't threaten to have me declared incompetent," I replied. "Family doesn't go through my papers without permission. Family doesn't treat a mother like a bank. You'll pay us back everything you owe us," Lena screamed. "You co-sign bills. You can't abandon us." Mr. Weber stepped in. "Any communication goes through my office, and I'd advise you to speak to counsel before making demands. We have full documentation of 3 years of voluntary support." They left, beaten but not finished. I knew it wasn't over, but for the first time, I felt protected. By law, by friends, by my own clarity. That evening, Eleanor invited me for dinner. I met her daughter. They spoke kindly, asked about each other's days, laughed together. Not once did the daughter ask for money. I felt an ache for what I had hoped to have with Max. "Maybe you will one day," Eleanor said. "But first, he has to learn you're a person who deserves respect, not a wallet." The next days were oddly peaceful. The camera shows indicated that Max and Lena drove past often, sometimes stopping for a few minutes, never getting out. Mr. Weber told me to log every pass. "Their persistence helps us secure a permanent order," he said. Friday morning, the bell rang. The camera showed a well-dressed young woman with a folder and a professional smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Renata Richter," she said. "I'm a social investigator from Senior Services. We received a report that you might be at risk, and we need to conduct a wellness check. Government now, so they had escalated. May I see your ID?" She showed it. "I'm Mrs. Schmidt. May I come in?" I let her in. Refusing would only look worse. She opened a form. "We have reports that you abruptly changed your financial behavior, cut off contact with family, installed unnecessary security equipment due to paranoia, and refused medical and legal help." I could hear Lena in every carefully chosen phrase. "Ms. Schmidt," I said. "I'd like to call my lawyer." "This isn't an interrogation," she replied. "If you have nothing to hide, that line always belongs to abusers." "I'm calling my lawyer," I repeated. "You can wait or return with him present." Mr. Weber arrived within 20 minutes. He checked her ID and his expression hardened. "Ms. Schmidt, unless you have a court order, this is harassment." Concerned family? The same family that tried to push a power of attorney entered her home without permission and excluded her from major events while living off her money? He set a folder on the table. "Here's documentation. $33,400 drained in 3 years, repeated emotional pressure, and social exclusion." Ms. Schmidt reviewed the file, discomfort growing. "Ms. Richter," she asked, "why did you suddenly stop supporting your son?" "Because I realized they were using me," I said. "Because I understood I wasn't a mother to them, just an account. Funding their adulthood is not my duty. It's a choice, and I choose not to anymore." Mr. Weber added, "Is it normal for a 35-year-old to be unable to pay rent without his 71-year-old mother?" She asked about my finances, health, and independence. I showed her up-to-date statements, explained my routine, and confirmed I drive myself and maintain my home. "My client just completed an evaluation," Mr. Weber said. "She's in excellent mental and physical health." Ms. Schmidt closed her folder. "I see no need for intervention. I'll close the case." After she left, Mr. Weber warned me, "They'll keep escalating. They might file for guardianship." "So they're desperate?" "Exactly. It's costly and hard to win, but a sympathetic judge and a willing psychiatrist can cause trouble." I called Diana to vent. Do you see how far they'll go for money? She asked. They're burning bridges and paying lawyers to get back to your account. She was right. There was no road back to the illusion I'd clung to. Eleanor arrived that evening with friends from her garden club. Cynthia from the salon, plus Maria, Carmen, and Alfreda. Each had a story about setting boundaries with family who treated them like a stipend. What hurts most, I said, is knowing the love I thought I had was something I paid for. True love has no price, Alfreda said with 80-year-old wisdom. If you had to buy it, it wasn't love. Her words soothed me. You know what's worse than being alone? I added. Being surrounded by people who don't love you. We toasted to hard-won wisdom. Under the night sky, I felt something new, excitement. I was financially alone for the first time in adulthood. No obligations but my own. I could travel, renovate, donate, invest in my future, not theirs. Freedom tasted like hope. A month passed, and I settled into a routine, breakfast with the paper, gardening, lunches with friends, afternoons painting on a new easel I'd bought for myself. Then, on a Thursday, Mr. Weber arrived with a grim face. Renata, they filed for incompetence in family court. They want a guardian, likely Max, to control your finances. It was the worst betrayal imaginable. What evidence can they have? They have 3 witnesses claiming erratic behavior, plus unpaid medical bills and hoarded medications. They also have a statement from Dr. Lehman saying you refused an evaluation, spun as proof of decline. Who are the witnesses? Lena, a neighbor named Mr. Davis, and your pharmacist, Mr. Green. We went to the pharmacy. Mr. Green looked embarrassed. MRS. Richter, your daughter-in-law came asking about your medications. I told her you only buy vitamins and aspirin. She brought a paper to sign. I thought it was for insurance. I'm sorry. Please write a corrected statement, I said. He agreed. We visited Mr. Davis. He was hostile from the start. She's been acting strange, installing cameras, visitors all the time, yelling at her family outside. Do you know why I installed cameras? I asked. Don't care, he snapped. He had taken everything out of context and didn't want the context. That night, Mr. Weber and I mapped our defense. You need your own psychiatric evaluation, he said. Dr. Moore is an expert witness. What if the judge is biased? The system's not perfect, but it isn't lawless. We have evidence and their motive is money. The next day, Dr. Moore tested me for 2 hours, memory, reasoning, financial understanding, mood, cognitive tasks. MRS. Richter. She concluded, your results are well above average for your age. You're fully competent. Eleanor rallied the garden club friends. We'll testify, Maria said. Anyone can see you're doing great, Cynthia added. Alfreda squeezed my hands. You have what many victims don't, proof, counsel, and witnesses. I cried that night, not from sadness, but to mourn the son I thought I had, and the fantasy of a loving family. Then I felt steel in my spine. They wouldn't take my money or my dignity. Court day came 3 weeks later. I put on my best black suit. Mr. Weber reminded me. They must prove you're incompetent. We only need to show you're not. We saw Max in a new suit and Lena in black like it was a funeral. Perhaps it was, for our family. Their lawyer painted me as a confused elder manipulated by neighbors and lawyers. Lena cried on the stand, claiming I had changed, grown paranoid, isolated. Mrs. Schuster? Mr. Weber asked. When was the last time you called my client without asking for money? I don't remember dates. Did you marry without inviting her? It was small. When my client asked, did you say you'd only invited special people? That was taken out of context. What context makes that acceptable? No answer. Max testified next. Mom has been generous, but lately she's irrational and being used. How much have you received in 3 years? Mr. Weber asked. I don't know. Does $33,400 sound right? Maybe. How many visits without asking for money? Silence. Did you enter her home without permission and bring a lawyer to push a power of attorney? We wanted to help. Do you, at 35, need your 71-year-old mother to pay your rent? No dignified answer. Mr. Davis admitted he'd never spoken to me, just observed. Dr. Lehman's statement was neutralized by Dr. Moore's full evaluation. Then our witnesses. Mr. Green, correcting the pharmacy statement. Dr. Moore, confirming excellent cognitive scores. Mr. Summer, explaining my rational banking and home security decisions. Eleanor and the garden club friends, describing my clarity and independence. Finally, I testified. I told the full story, $33,400 in 3 years, the cruelty of the secret wedding, the pressure, the invasion of privacy, the legal threats. Why did you stop funding them? Mr. Weber asked. Because I realized what I was getting wasn't love, I said. It was a transaction dressed up as family. Do you regret it? Only that it took me so long. Their lawyer tried to rattle me. He couldn't. In rebuttal, Mr. Weber said, "This is not incompetence. This is a woman finally ending financial and emotional abuse." Judge Miller deliberated for 2 hours. When he returned, his decision was clear. After reviewing the evidence, he said, "MRS, Renata Richter is fully competent. Psychiatric evaluations confirm her cognitive health. Her financial decisions, though upsetting to her family, are rational and within her rights. The petition for guardianship is denied. I had won my money, my freedom, my dignity." Outside, Lena glared at me. Max looked like he might feel regret, but it was too late. That night, Eleanor hosted a celebration at my house with our friends. We toasted to justice, to freedom, to women who stand together. "Renata," Alfreda said, "you didn't just win a case. You reclaimed your life." Over the next 3 months, I sold my house and moved to a bright apartment near the city center. I donated half my money to groups that protect elders from family abuse. With the rest, I lived. I traveled through Europe, took art classes, joined volunteer projects. I never heard from Max or Lena. I heard they moved into a smaller place and that Lena took a job for the first time in years. Maybe hardship would teach them what my generosity never did. The worth of honest work and independence. Some nights, from my balcony, I think about the woman I was a year ago, afraid, manipulated, convinced love had a price. That woman is gone. In her place stands someone who understands a simple truth. Real love cannot be bought, and freedom is worth any cost. My name is Renata. I am 72 years old, and I've finally learned the most important person I must love and protect is myself. If this story spoke to you, I'd be grateful for your support so I can write more. And you? What would you do in my place? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I'm always curious. For more true-to-life stories like this, like the video and subscribe to the channel. With heartfelt thanks, until next time.